Okay, so again, welcome everyone to the introduction for the 21-day detox. I'm Jean, your host, dietitian, your guide, your support. And so today, really what we're going to do is just an introduction. Again, I'm going to just review the program manual with you guys, answer any questions that you have, and then each subsequent week that we meet, there will be some different kinds of discussions. A lot of it will be centered around once the 21-day part is up, there will be a lot of discussion around the reintroduction phase. And that way also people can kind of share their experiences, ask their questions. So we'll make sure that you have all the guidance you need. So no worries if you're new to this, but I will tell you that it's usually fairly life-changing for people. It gives people a lot of insight into some different things that they may have been experiencing and they aren't really sure why. So this is a really nice deep dive into some of the foods that we've been eating and maybe see if some of our potential health issues could be explained by that. So, and you're going to learn all about how that works right now. Just disclaimer, this is not intended to treat or prevent a disease. It's not a replacement for seeking medical treatment or professional advice, although this is professional advice as far as who you're getting this from. I am a registered dietitian. I have reviewed and approved this program for your use. So again, essentially over the next 21 days, you're going to kind of challenge the way that you've been eating and hopefully change your relationship with food completely, because how your body and your metabolism work have a lot to do with the food that you're eating. And so a lot of people during this program report improved energy levels. They report that their mood is better, maybe even their sleep. A lot of people say that their digestion is better. And it's interesting because you might think, oh, well, my digestion is fine or it's normal, but it's kind of interesting what we adapt to or what we consider to be normal, right? So, it'll just be interesting to kind of see how everybody feels, but these are just some of the things that you may notice improvements in. So even things that you think probably have absolutely nothing to do with your diet, like your under eyes being puffy or your joints hurting, or again, your sleep or your skin. Nutrition is connected to just about everything. So don't blow off any improvement as, oh, that can't have to do with what I'm eating, because there's a very good chance that it does. Okay, so why are we even doing this? Why does this matter? Basically, the key to reducing inflammation, which inflammation is the process that drives all disease, whether it's arthritis or diabetes or heart disease or bone disease. It's inflammation in some part of the body. So reducing this process in the body is the best way to prevent and or manage diseases so that they don't get worse and become life-threatening or just completely ruining our quality of life. So I do also want to kind of make sure everybody knows this is not a weight loss program. However, some people do notice that they do lose weight. And this could be due to that reduction in the inflammation, like I mentioned. It can also just be due to eating better and choosing better foods, and those foods improving your metabolism a little bit. So maybe you're burning fat a little bit better. So again, weight loss is not the objective here, but it can be a positive side effect. But if you don't lose weight and you want to, don't be discouraged if you don't, okay? Because again, it's not designed for that. We're not reducing calories, we're not fasting, we're not doing anything to deprive the body of what it wants. In fact, this is literally the opposite of that. So the only things that you're taking away are things that your body doesn't need, and you're putting only really good high quality nutrients into your body. So you can see a list here of kind of some different things that might be problematic for us, and essentially all of these are going to be eliminated during this process. So to understand what toxicity means, you might have heard the term toxic load. This can come from lots of places. It comes from our diet, it comes from chronic stress, which most of us are under chronic stress, and also our environment. So the air we breathe, the water we drink. Toxins are unavoidable. you know, so you can't live in a bubble. There's no way to avoid them. So the best that we can do is try to be aware of the things that we can control and limit our exposure to those things. Okay. So toxins can be both internal or external. External are basically things in our environment. So that can include chemicals, toxins, heavy metals. So some of those chemicals would include things like pesticides, maybe food additives, cleaning products, personal care products. We're going to get a little more into this as well. And then from a food standpoint, the standard American diet, not ironically abbreviated as SAD, puts a very tremendous burden on our ability to detoxify. Okay, so we have these wonderful organs called livers. We have wonderful organs called kidneys. They're the liver's entire job and a main function of the kidneys is to help detoxify our body. So eliminating waste products, but these things can become impaired over time. And so they can't necessarily keep up with the toxic load or the toxic burden that is put onto us. So again, eating a healthy diet can help these organs to work properly so that they can do what they're supposed to do. All right. I'm going to skip this part about food allergies. You guys can read this on your own but just be aware that a food allergy is an immune response, and all immune responses create inflammation. That's the job of the immune system. So we should have some inflammation in a short, quick burst. It's just designed to fix any damage, whether it's a virus or a bacterial infection or some kind of invader. Okay. But chronic inflammation, where the inflammation never stops, that's where problems start to arise. Okay. So one of the goals of this whole program that we're doing is to help with certain hormones, particularly insulin, which is the hormone that breaks down sugars in our body. All right. So if you have a lot of sugar cravings, it's usually a blood sugar imbalance issue, and your insulin is kind of all over the place. All right. So even if you have not ever been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, for example, you can still have blood sugar imbalances that can affect how things function in your body, particularly how you burn or store fat. So just kind of be aware, don't blow it off like, oh, well, I don't have diabetes, so my blood sugar is fine. No, if you have a lot of sugar cravings often, or even just carbs, it could be salty, crunchy carbs. It doesn't have to be sugar. It's the same thing when it breaks down in your body. So there's a tendency for us to use that as a way to chase low blood sugar. And the more that we eat, the more that we want. So we end up in kind of a vicious cycle. Other hormones related to what we eat are leptin, which is the hormone that tells us our stomach is full. And then there's ghrelin, which is our hunger hormone. And then finally, we have cortisol, which is our stress hormone. If you are chronically under stress, you have chronically high cortisol levels, and this in turn can increase our blood sugar because it's a biological response that our body thinks we need to run away from the stress or the threat, whatever the thing is. So over time, this can affect how our body uses insulin, and it can affect how we burn fat. Another objective here that we're trying to do is to support our digestive system, because the standard American diet does not support the digestive system at all. A lot of our immune system is in our gut, which is kind of like a fun fact. A lot of people don't realize this, and also a lot of the like our happy hormones, our sleep hormones, these are also made in our gut and sent to the brain. So if our gut isn't working properly, we're not able to produce these things that we need to feel our best. We kind of talked about inflammation already. Hold on, I want to scroll back up and sort of jump down a little bit. Just again, be aware that kind of chronic inflammation is usually the driver behind any pain response, any disease. And again, don't think that it's not food related, because it very well could be. All right, so let's get into the food part, which is probably what we all want to know about. So basically, this is going to explain to you what you want to avoid and then the foods you want to include. And I will take questions. Just hold all your questions to the end if you wouldn't mind. Just let me run through everything and then we can jump back to anything you want me to clarify or any questions you have. Okay. So the things you're going to be avoiding would be any type of grains, any type of grains. So this includes rice, corn, oats, wheat, for sure. Even some of the ones that I normally would recommend you eat. We're doing this as a means of kind of wiping the slate clean. You can think of this as like a reboot or a reset. And then this is going to, because in some people wheat can be inflammatory. In some people corn can be inflammatory. We don't know what's what yet with the people that are here in the program. So we're kind of assuming it's inflammatory across the board, and then we will start reintroducing things after the 21-day period, and that's going to really help you see how your body responds to these different foods. So that's why we're doing all of this. This is the one that most people find one of the most challenging, which is going to be the sugar. So not only can you not have sugar, but you also cannot have any kind of sweeteners. So no Equal, no Splenda, no honey. Okay, none of that. I have a handout that will also talk about some of the different names that sugar is disguised as an ingredient. You know, sometimes you'll see words like evaporated cane juice, right? Like the word sugar is not in there anywhere. So you might think, oh, well, that's not sugar. Well, it is. So I'll make sure you guys get a copy of that just so you can be good consumers. And when you go to the store, you know what to look for. All right, no alcohol, not even for cooking. So no Marsala wine or anything like that. If you are smoking or using any kind of tobacco or vapes or anything, none of that for sure. Very high toxic burden from both alcohol and tobacco. This is the other one that people usually about, which is the coffee. I would recommend if you are drinking a lot of coffee right now, that you go ahead and start kind of weaning that down. Because if you go from drinking 4 cups of coffee a day to 0, you're going to feel awful and you will have withdrawals and you will hate me and hate everyone and everything. So I definitely recommend about a week before you're planning to start the detox to go ahead and start cutting down gradually on your coffee intake. You can have green tea. So you can have, that does have a little bit of caffeine. So you can have some caffeine in your life, but it just has to come from green tea. There's also a really cool product called Rasa, which is a mushroom-based sort of coffee-like drink. It has a flavor that is something like coffee, so that gives you sort of a feeling that you're drinking it, but you're getting a lot of, you're getting some good herbs and things from it. So that is an alternative that you can try if you want. No legumes, okay, so no beans and no peanuts. Peanuts are legumes, not nuts. It's the name is a little bit misleading, but you can have any other type of nuts and seeds, which we'll get to, but no peanuts and no peanut butter. Okay. This also includes soy, which you need to be very careful with soy because this is another ingredient that's kind of frequently found in things. Okay, so it's not just like you can't eat tofu or soy sauce. You also need to be looking for soybean oil, for example, in your food products. And it's in a lot of things, believe me. The plus side of this is that you're going to be eating very little processed food. So it'll be pretty easy to avoid soybean oil because you're not going to see soybean oil in anything that isn't processed. But just to be on the safe side, in case you do find something that fits the program, make sure you just check for that. Okay, make sure there's no soybean oil or soy lecithin. No dairy. The only exception to this is ghee, which is a type of clarified butter. I would highly recommend keeping some of this handy because it's going to be really useful for cooking. You can use it as a substitute for butter in every way. So like you can spread it on things, like you can put it on your sweet potatoes, for example, or your vegetables. So definitely pick up a jar of ghee. It's in with the olive oil and the other oils in the grocery store. So I'm a fan of it. I can tolerate this better. Regular butter usually makes me break out, but I can do ghee. So you may want to have this handy. Okay, as far as food additives, again, you're probably going to be avoiding most of these things if you're staying away from processed foods, but just things to be aware of: MSG, sulfites, which is mostly in alcohol, and you're not going to be drinking wine and beer. And then carrageenan. The only place you're probably going to find carrageenan is possibly in like the plant milks, like almond milk or cashew milk, but most manufacturers have removed that from their products now. So you probably won't see too much. Also, should go without saying, no food coloring and that kind of stuff. But again, you can't have sugar, so most things with food coloring are going to have sugar, so you're not going to have that. All right, protein powders. So most protein powders are either whey or soy, both of which are off the table right now. There are some protein powders, however, that will fit into the program. So I've given you a couple of suggestions here. One of them is a pumpkin seed protein powder that I really like. It's one ingredient, which is pumpkin seeds. There's another one called Space Milk that I recently discovered, and it is a protein derivative from baker's yeast. So it doesn't have the actual yeast in it. It's just like a protein byproduct, and it's flavorless and doesn't have anything else added to it. So both of these would be totally appropriate, but you're free to look for other ones that don't contain any of these things. So you can check those out if you want. Okay, now what to eat, because that's really what we want to know here.
Jane,
So yes.
what about pea protein? Because they might be looking for that too, and that's under the legumes.
Right, so no pea protein because, right, that's going to be part of the legume category. So anything made from peas, lentils, anything like that. So yeah, so no pea protein. Thank you, Connie.
Yeah.
Okay, fruits and vegetables. So literally any fruits and vegetables that you want. All right. Other than, the only limit here is white potatoes. And the reason that we say that is because in some people, white potatoes can cause an inflammatory response. It may not for you, but we don't know, and we're taking it off the table for a bit. So definitely substitute with sweet potatoes. I personally prefer sweet potatoes. They're my absolute favorite. You can also do any of the other root vegetables, like turnips or things like that have a little bit of a kind of like a potato vibe. Any fruits. Okay. So one thing to really focus on during this is color. So I want you guys trying to make sure you're getting a lot of different colors in your diet each day. And by that, I mean basically eating the rainbow. Because each color, so like purple, yellow, orange, red, each color has its own set of properties and chemicals that help our body to fight this inflammation that we're working so hard to get rid of. So it's a very simple and natural way to help keep the balance within your body just by eating vegetables and fruits. It's so simple. It's the best thing that you can possibly do for yourself. So just like I said, try to keep a good variety of them each week on hand. You can make really nice big salads with lots of beautiful color in it. So basically go nuts, you can have fats. So you can have any nuts and seeds that you want aside from peanuts. So you can have almonds, you can have pistachios, you can have sunflower seeds, all of those. And the fats are going to really be helpful here, as well as to help you make sure that you feel full. Because when you're cutting out grains, you're cutting out a lot of foods, you're going to need replacements for them. Because again, this is not a weight loss plan. You certainly don't want to feel hungry throughout this process. So fats can be very useful for helping with that, what we call satiety, or that feeling of feeling satisfied and full. You can use olive oil, avocado oil to cook with. You can use coconut oil to cook with. Again, any type of nuts or seeds or nut butters that you want. You can also you can have olives. You can have coconut milk, which is a really nice conduit for cooking. I love to cook fish in coconut milk, for example. And you can also have coconut meat, like the flakes. Just make sure that it's unsweetened because they do have some that come with sugar added to it. Good quality protein, so seafood of any kind, so fish or shellfish, oysters, anything like that. You can have beef, you can have pork, you can have chicken. I would highly recommend that the meat you're buying come from a good quality source. So grass-fed, free-range chicken, free-range eggs. If you have chickens or you know someone that has chickens, that's even better. Those are the eggs that you should be eating as much as you can. Or if you know someone who hunts and they give you venison, beautiful. Okay. And then bone broth is also an option. Again, just make sure your bone broth doesn't have anything added to it. Okay, beverages, filtered water. Generally speaking, the rule is half your body weight, but that's only up to a certain point. If you are very overweight, you don't need as much as all that. Most people don't need more than a gallon a day. So absolute maximum a gallon. You can have any herbal tea you want. You can have green tea. If you're buying, I would highly recommend buying loose leaf tea and not tea bags because tea bags have microplastics in them. There was just a huge news release that came out about this, that they have all these plastics in like the little bag, like in the weave itself. So let's not do that. Again, a microplastic is definitely a toxin. So try to use loose leaf. There are certain brands of tea that do not have microplastics in them. That's a quick Google search you can look at, but like the Tezo brand doesn't have them. And then you can do any unsweetened nut milk. So you can do almond milk, coconut milk, cashew milk. Just make sure, again, that they don't have the carrageenan or any sugar added. So they need to be unsweetened. Short ingredient list is what we're looking for. Okay, and then you can pretty much have any seasonings you want. So any herbs or spices, chicken broth or beef broth or vegetable broth, sea salt, absolutely. You can use salsa. So salsa can be a really good condiment. You could also do like a pesto. Pesto would be totally fine. So these are gonna be your friend because otherwise you're probably gonna feel like you're eating very plain. So by all means, use all the herbs and all the spices. And again, many of these are also very good for detoxification and lowering inflammation. So like ginger and garlic and turmeric and oregano, these are all herbs and spices that actually support health very much. Supplements, like you don't need to stop taking your multivitamins. You don't need to stop taking, if you're taking like a magnesium supplement, anything like that, you can continue that. We don't sell supplements as part of this program. These are just examples of some that can help with things like sugar cravings. So if you're having sugar cravings that are driving you nuts, you could try something like glutamine or 5-HTP, but you can come and ask me about these things if you are considering starting something, because there's a lot to sort through with supplements and there's a lot of bad advertising out there. So if you have questions, I'm always happy to answer those for you. Okay, so when should you be eating? If you are working out currently, you shouldn't change your exercise routine necessarily. You just might find you need to change the timing of your eating. Okay, so you might need to eat something before or after, just kind of depending. It's fine to work out fasted. I tend to work out fasted and then I'll eat a good protein and carb source afterward. So that's up to you. You don't really need to do it unless you're doing something pretty intense. If you're doing like yoga or just walking, you don't need to eat anything immediately after. You can just eat when you normally would otherwise. Unless you're absolutely starving, of course, then please eat something. But typically the goal here is to try to eat 3 meals a day and not do too much snacking. This is part of what we're trying to do here is make it to where we feel satisfied with our meals. We're getting enough nutrients and enough fats and proteins in our meal to help us feel satisfied so that we don't need to snack. But sometimes it's just going to happen and that's fine. You're absolutely allowed to snack if you are hungry. You just have to choose from the foods that are on the program. So typically I would recommend like some nuts and some fruit, something like that. You could do like an apple with some almond butter, or you could do a handful of almonds and a banana, something like that. So only snack if you're hungry. This is also to help you break the cycle of boredom eating or stress eating or emotional eating of any kind. Okay. But ideally you should be eating about every 4 to 5 hours, more or less. Okay, like I said, if you're already exercising, just keep doing what you're doing. If you're not exercising currently, this is not the time for you to start doing anything intensive. But this might be, you might want to start adding in some walks. For example, the weather is getting nicer out. It's getting a little warmer. Hopefully the pollen is calming down. So you could just start doing a little walking every day, or maybe some yoga or some Pilates or some stretching. Okay. So again, don't start anything new that's very intense. But getting outside is always a good idea. Any kind of movement is a good idea, and it is a great way to help with stress reduction. So if you do it for no other reason than that, use it for the mental health benefits. I'm also a big fan of journaling. Journaling can be really helpful during this because you can kind of check in with yourself, and we have a lot of things we have to keep up here in our head, right? The noggin, it's got a lot of information that it has to deal with and hold on to and process. So writing something down can get it out of here, but it's still somewhere where you can recollect it or come back to it later. So please, by all means, journal. Even if you're not just like, oh, dear diary, like today I wanted to go punch that lady who cut me off in traffic. Like, I mean, that's fine too, but also just like kind of thinking about yourself and your own, how am I feeling today? Am I feeling extra stress? Why am I feeling extra stress? What can I do? It kind of helps you have this kind of conversation with yourself that no one else can see. It doesn't matter if you sound crazy, you may, and that's fine. But you can also think about things like, what's something that I can do nice for myself today, or something I can do to take care of myself. What am I grateful for today? And doing these kind of putting these kind of positive thoughts out can also help to combat stress, negative emotions, that kind of thing. I do very highly recommend the journaling piece with the reintroductions. So once we get to the point where we are reintroducing food, I'm going to ask everyone to keep track of that stuff, because it's really going to help you figure out what's happening and if you are responding to certain foods and in what way. Detox bath, another really good supporter of this whole process, but again, also good for mental health. I love a good hot bath. That's one of my favorite. If I've had a stressful day, I love to go sit in a hot bath. So you can use Epsom salts, baking soda. Lavender is a wonderful calming essential oil. There's plenty others that you can use also, but lavender is a really good one. Soak in there for about 20 minutes before you go to bed, and you'll probably find that you have a much more restful sleep, or at least an easier time going to sleep. Because magnesium in itself, which is in the Epsom salts, absorbs through your skin and will cross the blood-brain barrier, go right to your brain, and help you make lots of that nice sleep hormone of melatonin. So magnesium is one of the best methods that I can recommend for sleep.
June,
Okay.
can I just add one thing?
Sure.
It kind of goes along with the detox and the exercise, but our lymph needs to be detoxed as well, and the movement, just the gentle movement, will help with some of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it kind of helps everything circulate, right? It helps the lymph circulate, it helps the blood.
Yeah.
Everything. So yeah, the more things in your body are fluid, they are designed to move. And so the best way to support that is moving your own body. So yes, absolutely. Okay, so I want to shift a little bit into some of these environmental toxins that we talked about. Remember, I said that we are exposed to a lot of them, but there are many that we have control over. So this is kind of The other piece of this that I want you guys to focus on, particularly look at your deodorant, the perfumes that you're wearing, and really anything else that you're putting in your body. So like your toothpaste and your shampoo and your body wash and your soap, anything that's touching your skin or going into your mouth. Okay, because these are all, your skin is covered in membranes that absorb everything. So you really need to be mindful of those ingredients. Aluminum for one. So choose deodorants that do not have aluminum. Typically antiperspirants are going to have aluminum in them. So just use a regular old deodorant, not an antiperspirant. And then look at the toothpaste, fluoride free, chemical. I mean, it's not going to be chemical free because we know that that's not a thing, but like for example, they put blue dye in toothpaste for absolutely no reason because we're obsessed with things being colorful for some reason. So no blue toothpaste, you know, stuff like that. Look at this kind of dirty dozen ingredient list and look for these on all of your products. Parfum is probably the biggest one, or it's usually just marketed as fragrance. But if you see the word fragrance, that is what is called a phthalate, which is this word right here. So phthalates are a chemical family that are known to disrupt your hormones, and they are carcinogens, which means that they can cause cancer. We know this. This is published. This is documented. This is in the scientific journals. So this is not like a secret or a conspiracy theory. Like it is known, and yet it's allowed to be put into products that we use every day. Okay. So if you're using scented dryer sheets, scented laundry detergent, even the scent in your dishwasher packets. Okay. Your shampoo, your conditioner, your soap, your body wash. None of that should have any kind of fragrance in it unless it lists that fragrance as being from essential oils. If it does not say it's from essential oils, it's a phthalate and it is a toxin. Okay, so this is a really good thing to look through, go through all of your products that you're using on a regular basis and look for that fragrance ingredient. Also look for these other things, but that's literally number one. If you're like, this is too much, I can't look at all of these things, that's fine. This is public enemy number one. Okay. Public enemy number two being BPA. So this is in plastic food containers. Most nowadays will advertise that they are BPA free. So just look for that kind of little blurb. Also, you want to make sure you're not using aluminum foil. Switch to parchment paper, and even then you need to use unbleached parchment paper because bleached parchment paper has some of this stuff in it too. Okay, so unbleached parchment paper, no nonstick anything, none. So
Speaking
no
of bleach, Jean, I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, that's fine.
But that kind of theme carries out, like white flour is bleached, right? Even paper products, toilet paper and paper towels, those are bleached. Yep. So yeah. But if you all need help finding parchment paper, I can try to lead you to that, you know, as well as any of these other things.
Right, yeah. For sure. Like I know you can get unbleached parchment paper at Whole Foods. That's where I buy it. Not that we have a Whole Foods near us, but you know, you can make a little field trip if you wanted. Yeah, so that's a great point. Look for unbleached toilet paper, unbleached paper towels, that kind of stuff. A lot of things are hidden in plain sight. We're just not aware because it's not like it contains bleach. We don't know that they don't advertise what's in there. They just advertise the things that you think they think you're looking for. So unfortunately, there's no transparency and there's no need to be honest about things that are in there. So okay, these are some resources that you can use. There's a couple of apps that you might want to check out. This is a nice little beginner's guide. It's going to have a lot of this information in it, but it also has some sources as far as like where can you buy better alternative type things. The Environmental Working Group talks a lot about pesticides, which foods you need to buy organic, which ones you don't, that kind of thing. So you can check those links out on your own. Okay,
I have
and
one
then
more. I guess it didn't stay in there, but I'll put it in an email for y'all. It's a really good
oh,
consumer's guide.
you know what? This is my copy. This is not the one you emailed out. I
Okay.
realized that. I think this is my own copy. So yeah, the one that you finalized should have that other one on it.
Yeah, guys, if you're looking in your manual, there should be a Mammovation link there too. That is super good. Again, if you wanted to try to find a deodorant that was, good, better, or best, that go to them to help narrow your search down. Sometimes they'll have direct links to it. And sometimes they'll even have like a coupon. But it has anything from your cooking stuff to your parchment paper to the clothes. I mean, it's huge.
Wow.
Really,
Okay.
really good resource.
Excellent.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the Think Dirty app is similar to that. What Connie's describing sounds a little more expanded, but the Think Dirty app is one where you can actually look up your products that you're using. Like you can look up your shampoo or your deodorant, and it gives it like a rating of how clean it is or how dirty it is. And then it'll kind of tell you what problematic ingredients are in it. So you can even scan the barcode, which makes it very convenient. Or if you're at the store and you're like, okay, I need a new deodorant that's better, you can scan the little SKU on the product and it'll come right up. So between those two, you should be able to find some really good alternatives. Okay. First to do is to clean out the old pantry and fridge. Okay, so go through what you've got in the house, see what's off the list. We're not necessarily encouraging you to waste food or money. So if you feel like you need to eat all the stuff, then you do that. Do what you gotta do, okay? Or, we understand also that some of you have families. Your families are not necessarily willing participants in said programs. So you might want to keep yourself a little section of your pantry or like a little section of your fridge that's designated for you. Okay. Plan meals. This is going to be really helpful for you. There's a shopping list that Connie sent you or will be sending you that will have all of your weekly staples on it. And then, so take that with you to the store, make sure that you're stocking up, and then use that to plan out some meals for yourself because eating on the fly can be very difficult. Okay. And you may kind of fall short if you decide to do that. So sit down on Sunday afternoon, maybe, whatever's kind of like your down day, do some planning, figure out what you're going to do. Make, an easy way to kind of meal prep is just double your dinner. So whatever you're making for dinner, just double the amount of that, and then you can eat the leftovers the next day for lunch or dinner or even breakfast. Okay. So make sure you have what you need, stock up. You might even want to make like a rotation. Here's a couple of examples for kind of like a quick, easy meal. So you can even get a rotisserie chicken from the store, assuming that it's not got like soybean oil on it or something, for example. So you're going to be really good label readers by the time this is all over because you're gonna have to check stuff. So that will be something to pay attention to. Make a game plan. So like if you're going to be traveling during this, or if you have a family get together, or you're going to get together with some friends, be that person who looks at the menus ahead of time, knows what your options are. All right. Sneak salad dressing in your purse if you must. Do what you got to do. But just kind of have a game plan so that you know how you're going to handle situations like that. Make sure you have a good support team, which of course is your CFIT team, and each other, the other people who are doing this with you. And maybe you'll have a friend who kind of wants to unofficially do it with you. On kind of that note, this is the first time in a while that I will be actually doing this myself. And I've got my husband to do it with me too, which I'm excited about. So, because he cooks a lot of my meals. So, you also have me as not just the support in terms of the person leading the program, but I'm also participating in it. And so I'll be right there with you as well. And don't obsess over weighing yourself. I would actually kind of caution you against that. Like, so what we're going to do is we're going to have all of you do a weigh-in and do some measurements before you start. And if you want to also take a picture or something like that, you certainly can. But in terms of you like weighing yourself every day, things like that, that's not what I'm not recommending that you do that. I don't like people obsessing over their weight. Just do it if you feel something different. Like if you feel like you're like, oh, my stomach seems a lot flatter today. Let me see if I lost weight. Or I feel really poofy today. Let me look at that. And then you can kind of see how inflammation can affect weight. But don't necessarily feel like you have to do that. Okay. All right. So what are you going to expect here? So the first few days, some people report that they feel not good, especially if you're already eating a lot of sugar or you're drinking a lot of caffeine. You will have withdrawals from both things. So if you eat a lot of sugar, you're going to crave it. If you drink a lot of caffeine, you're going to have headaches and you're going to not feel good. So that's kind of why I mentioned gradually decreasing your caffeine intake. You could do the same with sugar also. All right, just as a means of acclimating your body to what's coming. So, but if you have symptoms like a headache or feeling really tired or changes to your digestion, like maybe constipation, for example, this is normal. Pretty much every healing process, you're going to feel worse a little bit before you feel better, but this should not last long. Okay. Again, depending on how far in this you are and how drastically you change things. Okay. So that's again why I recommend just kind of stepping down on your caffeine and things like that. So you won't be so grumpy. About week 2, you should start feeling pretty good. Your energy should be good. You should be sleeping better. Your digestion should be better. Depending on kind of, again, what your baseline is for your digestion. Like if your digestion is a hot mess right now, it might take a little bit longer for you to notice improvements. And especially if you start eating more fruits and vegetables than you're used to eating. So if you find that the vegetables are causing issues, cook them. So don't eat as many raw, like maybe cut back on the salads and do more cooked vegetables. And then you could also spread your fruit servings out throughout the day rather than eating like large quantities of fruit at one time. So you can kind of play with that. Again, I'm here to help. I'm here to support. If you notice anything like that, feel free to reach out to me and I can help you kind of tackle these little areas. Digestion is one of my big areas that I focus on in my practice. And it's something I've studied a lot in my doctoral research and in my professional experience. So I can definitely help with digestion. And then the last week, you really should be like on point. You should be super energized. You should be focused. You should not really have any symptoms that you had when you started this. Your taste buds also should have adapted, so you won't be craving sugar. You're actually going to be finding that fruit tastes really good to you, and it's gonna satisfy kind of that like sweet tooth kind of situation. So if after 21 days you feel like you should probably keep going a little bit more, by all means you may do that. There's no reason that you have to stop. You could go another week or 2 or 3 if you want. That's completely fine. So, but the 21 days is more of a minimum. All right. So this is kind of just like the stepwise thing. So I guess there's like a symptom questionnaire that you're going to fill out. And if by the end of that 21 days you feel really good, we'll start reintroductions. And we'll talk about those another time because there's no point in talking about just yet because we're not doing it for a while. So I'm going to kind of end this here because we'll get a little more into this in subsequent sessions. So let me, I'm going to keep the screen up in case there's anything you want me to refer back to. Do you guys have any questions? Anything that you'd like me to clarify on or kind of explain further? The floor is open.
Well, Jean, they might be wondering, when do they actually start?
Oh, well, the objective is going to be for you to be starting sometime sometime around so by the time we meet next Wednesday, you should be at least at the point where you're ready to get started. That's the goal. Even if you haven't started that day, you know, maybe no later than the Monday after that. So I think that would be like May the 5th.
Yeah, I was hoping that around Sunday that would help, but we do kind of have some leeway with that. There's an extra week in there. We do have some leeway.
Yeah, because like if you start a little bit later, it's not a big deal because you're going to get the information regardless ahead of time. So you may just have to come and refer back to it when you get to that reintroduction phase if you start a little bit later, but no biggie. I'm personally waiting until after my birthday, which is next Friday. So so I won't be mad at you if you guys are a couple days behind. It's all good. I will be too. So yeah. But yeah, around next Wednesday, you should at least be in that preparation where you've kind of got everything that you need. You've started thinking about menu planning and meal planning. So
I have a lot of questions.
all
Sorry.
right.
I'll
Go
try to
ahead.
make it as short and sweet as possible. Connie may need to answer this one. I'm not sure. I use sometimes the Sunrider products, like their Fortune Delight tea and their Cali tea. I didn't know if I could still drink those.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So no sugar at all means no monk fruit extract, no stevia, nothing like that.
Nope.
Okay.
I know
I have
it's
an issue with water. We have a well. I don't know when the last time was that it was tested. And it's soft. We had this conversation before. I've not done the detox with you before, but I know you did a thing like on the chemicals and stuff. And I did attend that class. I pretty much drink nothing but bottled water because we soften with the salt. There's not really any filtration system that I can afford is going to resolve that residue and that flavor or whatever from the water, which is better than using chemicals.
Sure.
Yeah.
Michelle, the zero water filter, I think would do a good job.
That's what I have here. I'll show you the box. Well, this is what the filters look like. It just looks like a regular old pitcher, but this brand is guaranteed to get out all the PFAS and the lead and the chlorine and all that kind of mess. So, and it's like, I think the pitcher itself is maybe $20 and I only have to replace it about every 3 or 4 months. The filter.
Okay. Perfect.
Oh, my filter I have to do every 2 weeks.
Oh, well, you have more, you know, this is just one person. So
True.
But yeah, mine lasts about 3 months. So it just depends how many people are in your house. But
Okay.
There is also one you can mount on your tap. So this is the kind that goes in the pitcher, but there's one you can put on your tap in your kitchen or wherever as well. And that might be a little more economical if there's multiple people.
Okay.
Yeah, so I would look into that for sure.
What about salad dressings?
So your best bet is going to be to make your own. We can definitely get you guys some recipes. My personal favorite that I usually make, I usually literally just do olive oil, lemon juice, garlic, and some herbs. I love dill, I love parsley, I love oregano. You can do kind of a blend of whatever you want. So that's a good one. You can make a good mustard dressing, using Dijon mustard. So commercial, like bottled dressings are going to be tricky. One brand that's pretty good is Primal Kitchen. They tend to have the dressings that they make should generally fit. Like they have some that are going to have dairy, so you can't do those, but a lot of their dressings should be appropriate. And then there's another one called, hold on, I have it in my fridge.
How expensive are those though, Jean?
I mean, they're gonna cost a little bit more than Kraft, but they're not like $15 a thing. This is another good brand called Gotham Greens. This vegan goddess dressing is also amazing. And it's all good. It's all stuff you can have.
Okay.
Oh well, this one actually does have a little bit of It says it has dextrose in it, so maybe not this one, but you can look at this brand. They have good stuff too. So Gotham Greens, Primal Kitchen, or Bragg's. Bragg's makes some good ones. So truthfully, it's probably cheaper to make your own.
Yeah, I'd appreciate some recipes too.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about nutritional yeast?
That's fine.
Okay.
Yep. I love the Noochie Boochies.
Okay. The only other thing I had, it's going to take me like a long transition to be able to do all the chemicals and the like personal care products and I
Yeah.
don't have the money to just go
Look,
start over.
absolutely. No, we are not, there's no expectation of throw away everything in your house. But like as you replace them, right? So like as your deodorant runs out or when you run out of shampoo and you need to buy more, like that would be the time to do that. So yeah, but absolutely. I didn't say that, but yes, for sure. Nobody has that kind of money in this economy.
Right. I think the last thing was, I may not be able to make it there to get my measurements done. So do you have somewhere what measurements we need to take ourselves from home?
Yeah, I can give you those, Michelle.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's it. Thank
Okay,
you.
great.
Good
Anyone
to have
else?
you. Cindy, I know you have a question. You've been writing things down.
Yeah, I've been trying to take notes.
Sue's
don't
a
have a
veteran.
question
She
right
knows how
now.
to, she knows what to do.
No, this is just a totally new. Oh my gracious! I'm going to have to go through everything, go find a whole bunch of stuff and where to get it and all that. It's going to
Well,
take a lot for me.
Yeah. And again, we are here to support you. So if you need help, I mean, a lot of these, if you notice the list of what we gave you are normal foods. These are not, in fact, the less complicated, the less specialized the food, the better. So you can go to Food Line, you can go to Kroger, you can go to Publix, like you can buy these things anywhere. It's just more a matter of like looking at the ingredients and that kind of stuff. So yeah, so they're not nothing. None of this is going to be obscure kind of things you can't find.
Jean, what you don't know about Cindy is I think she's a bit of a perfectionist.
So
So yeah, don't overthink it, Cindy.
She's
Really,
already,
like,
yes,
keep it
she's already
simple.
overthinking it and putting a lot of pressure on herself to be
Yeah,
exactly as it says.
Keep it simple. The simpler, the better. Like you're gonna find that the best meals that you're gonna make are gonna be like a piece of salmon and a sweet potato and some broccoli. Like literally, this is actually meant to be simple because the simpler you're eating, the more what we call single ingredient foods that you're eating, the better. So yeah, so don't overthink it. At least try not to. Easier said than done. But yeah.
because I thought all these recipes and all that stuff, they're all all stuff is new to me. But yeah, so
Yeah.
the
You don't have
simple
to do
stuff,
any
that
of the
sounds
recipes.
good.
You can just keep it real basic.
You don't
fine.
have to use those recipes at all.
No, they're just suggestions.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. If you want to just cook an egg and veggie omelet and some fruit for breakfast, fine. Beautiful.
Yeah.
So when you
You're
say
more
egg
likely
and veggie omelet, I mean, what vegetables do they need to be cut up really small? I'm thinking of
It
time.
makes
How
no
much
difference
time?
whatsoever. Do them however you like them. It doesn't matter.
If you want to have some peppers or some mushrooms and onions or whatever kind of, a supply of those, like you said, prep. So all you have to do is sprinkle in a few.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Easy peasy. So yeah, you can do little things like that to help yourself. Just prepping, pre-chopping vegetables or slicing up strawberries or, baking a few sweet potatoes in advance. And then that way you can just grab one, warm it up and eat it.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Anything else?
Sue,
I have one
what do
more.
you have? Oh, go ahead, Michelle.
All right. What about Cocoa Mojo?
Cocoa Mojo.
I
That's
don't
a
have to look
mushroom.
at the ingredients right now, but
Hold on, I'm gonna Google it right now. Cocoa
has
Mojo,
coconut sugar.
MOJO.
I think it has coconut sugar in it.
Oh, is it like a powder?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
just
it's
mix
got
it.
coconut
Yeah.
sugar. Yeah, it does. So I would avoid that for the moment, but you can have cocoa. You can have cocoa powder. So you could either buy the Raza or just like you can buy blended mushroom powders online, like on Amazon, that don't have anything added. So you could kind of make your own version of the drink. It just wouldn't, I don't know how it would taste because it wouldn't be sweet. You can definitely do that.
Right. Okay.
How much sugar
Thank
does
you.
it have, Jean?
Let's see. Let me try to see the actual ingredient
Just
label.
curious, because it's not super sweet. But coconut sugar isn't anyway.
It's only 3 grams, and that's not added sugar. I mean, I personally, like, I know what it says. I know what the detox says. I didn't write it, but I personally don't have an issue with coconut sugar because of the way that it's extracted from the whole fruit. It's not that much different than eating coconut, but if we're being puritanical about it, you can't have it.
If you're gonna
Okay.
be perfect.
Yeah, but nobody will judge you if you drink your Cocoa Mojo. How about
Yeah.
that?
Okay.
Because really, in my opinion, also the benefit outweighs it because it's all kinds of mushrooms, it's cocoa, all of that is extremely powerful antioxidants, really great for your immune system. So, like, to me,
Yeah, I agree.
yeah, I think you can get away with it. So that's fine.
Thank you.
Yep, you can keep that little bit of joy in your life.
She can keep her mojo.
That's right. Keep your mojo. Okay, well, we are right about at 8 o'clock. So I'm gonna let you guys go. We will get you some dressing recipes, and there's an email chain going. So you are free to find my email address in that and email me if you have a specific question. You can also bring all of your questions to next Wednesday as well, and we can answer anything you have at that time. But we'll make sure you get plenty of ideas for keeping things interesting for you, and you know, make it so you're getting the most out of it.
Be sure to fill out that symptom form.
Yes.
You're gonna do it before and after.
Yes.
And read the instructions pretty precisely. I don't have it sitting in front of me, but 0 if this, 1 if that, and so on.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
And then you'll do another one afterward, and we're going to compare.
Yeah.
That's something you're going to send that we
It's
don't
in
already
your
have.
manual.
It's at
Oh, it
the,
is.
I think it's all the way at the end of, let's see. It's on page, it's like page 16. It starts on page 15, 16, and 17.
Yeah.
It's right before the recipes.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely make sure you do that, and then you'll do it again after, and we'll do some comparison just to kind of see what you noticed.
Yeah. This will be fun.
Yay!
Learning is always fun, right?
Yes, I think so. So yeah, let us know if you guys need anything. Otherwise, we'll see you same time, same place next week.
Thank you, Jean. Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.